Good morning, everyone, and welcome to today's webinar hosted by Probax and Dropbox. Win-win, help your clients work smarter while accelerating your recurring revenue growth. I am Sam Meegahage, CEO of Probax, and I am very excited to have with me Dropbox ANZ Channel Manager Brock Fisher. Brock, firstly, welcome. It's great to have you here, and I'm really looking forward to the conversation we're about to have on quite possibly my two favourite things, working smarter and making money.
Thank you, Sam. It's very exciting to be here too, and we're a global business, but we've got a strong Australian team here, and it's exciting for us to be working with Probax on the solution that you've built, which is world-class and the first that's been done anywhere in the world. So excited to hopefully share a bit of wisdom and answer a few questions today.
Awesome. Thanks, Brock. So a few housekeeping matters before we get started. Firstly, everyone has been muted. If you have any questions, please pop them in the Q&A box and we'll get to them at the end of the presentation. We should have plenty of time to get through all your questions today. As always, today's presentation has been recorded and we'll be publishing these slides and a copy of the recording as soon as possible. You can also access all our previous webinars on the Probax knowledge base website, which is at kb.probax.io. So the agenda for today's webinar looks like this. Brock will kick things off by discussing the challenges your SMB clients face and the need for future ways of working. Next, I will discuss why your clients need a backup and archive solution for SaaS services like Dropbox. We'll then take a look at our very own Dropbox backup and archive solution, including a quick demo and a sneak peek of our new dashboard, ProBacks Hive. We'll share some insights on how MSPs can accelerate their recurring revenue growth by effectively positioning and selling SaaS protection solutions like Dropbox backup and archive. And finally, we'll open it up to questions at the end before formally closing out the webinar. How does that all sound to you, Brock?
That sounds great, Sam. Looking forward to delving into it.
No worries, Brock. So, you know what? I'll hand it over to you to kick off agenda item number one.
Okay, thanks so much. So perhaps an odd place to start a reseller webinar, but I think understanding the need for future ways of working is something we think a lot about at Dropbox. And it's a bit of a narrative that I think would help resellers on the call understand where Dropbox is positioning itself in the market and what problems we're solving. So let's look at the history of Dropbox. And from when our founder and current CEO, Drew Houston, all those years ago, I think about 12 years ago, sought to build a better USB stick, Dropbox has grown from the place that you keep your files in sync to the place that you keep your team in sync.
So Brock, I'm going to ask you a quick question. So how do resellers pitch Dropbox business?
Good question. I think there's a mixture of ways, Sam, and I think the first generation of people were saying, hey, Dropbox is your file server. But I think what's getting currency now is resellers being the smarter ones that have a really good understanding of their customers and the employees of their customers, delving into what the challenge is for those employees doing their day-to-day work. And I think that is something I want to kind of delve in here, where, again, I just try to throw a few curveballs out there. A lot of people on the call probably don't know why I brought up a person named Beth in Kansas City, but she's a real person. And she's kind of representative of a lot of businesses in Australia in terms of how they get work done. Because this is Beth's life. She's a probation officer, which means that she needs to work with the court, the police, the clients, and staff. And it's a bit of a mess. It's a bit of a jungle out there in terms of the applications that she works with, but also the tools that she works with.
So to me, it's evident that her stuff is all over the place, right? You can see that on the screen. I can see that she's using Dropbox. She's also got other files on her computer. She's got stuff in Google Docs, stuff in email attachments, et cetera, et cetera.
Yeah, well, there's the average employee in Australia is using 35 different applications for work at the moment. So if the previous view or this view was kind of where data is stored, there's also all of the tools. So now we've got Slack, we've got Gmail, we've got Google Docs, Google Sheets, we've got Adobe Files, we've got Dropbox Paper, which is being used by a lot of businesses now to get their team all working together. So,
and I'm exactly the same, right? Like I find that constantly switching between different apps during my working day is quite possibly the most tiring part of the day.
Well, it's kind of the digital equivalent of having multiple conversations with your team back to back. You know, they're asking you something and then you're having to jump from there into a conversation around sales, and then a client is asking you something else. All of these things involve a lot of context switching. So it causes a heck of a lot of fatigue. And then you're also having to work with a lot of different teams, because one thing is maybe, you know, for you, Sam, with yourself and Jonathan, I'd imagine that you're using the same kind of tools. You guys are a relatively small, agile business, but when you start working with external parties, they're probably using quite different tools. And then you're having that problem of, okay, can that person open that file that I've sent them? So this kind of creates a bit of a mess, a bit of a jungle. And what we see is that all of those app switching and all of those different products that you're using creates a heck of a lot of time just spent doing what we call work about work. So it's about 60% of the day is finding information, just being buried in your emails, trying to coordinate with people, all of the things that you're not going to actually see as a KPI or something that your business is setting you as a target.
Hey, so just quietly, I think I think a lot of people still use email as their filing system, and I'm sure you agree.
It's a really hard habit to get out of, because I think a lot of people, it's the first thing they look at when they start the day, and they're not necessarily going there because they've got something that they need to do, but they just feel that's where I'm going to get bombarded at some stage. I better just kind of live in it.
Yeah.
Which is probably not the smartest way of working. So what we see is that this has changed significantly in someone like Beth's lifetime. You've got Beth in 1999 was being distracted by Minesweeper.
Oh man, I love Minesweeper.
Well, it was an incredibly addictive tool, right? And for me, it was Nokia Snake.
I wasn't the best at it, but I loved it.
Yeah. Well, you kind of go from Minesweeper or Snake on your Nokia phone, and it's a little bit of a distraction, but you're not bombarded by Minesweeper, are you? Whereas today, there's all of these other things that could be vying for Beth's attention, and it's going to get a heck of a lot more busy and a heck of a lot more complicated, as you can see her with her VR headset in just a few years' time. So why are we telling you about all of this? Well, you got this really weird scenario at the moment where you got too much of a good thing, and it's leading to burnout. And about 2/3 of workers have actually hit the point where they've just gone, it's just too hard. And they've actually starting to, well, they're not enjoying work anymore, and they're finding the way that work is being done in corporations is not conducive to them being terribly happy. So what we're doing is we're building a more enlightened way of working. And what we mean by that is, how can we give employees and their customers and the corporations that they work for a bit of time back and a bit of freedom from a lot of distraction. So what we have the benefit as a relatively young company that isn't kind of saddled with a lot of legacy technology is we can start fairly fresh. So we, from a blank canvas, if you look at Windows Explorer or Finder, which has been that UI, that consistent UI that people have experienced files with for the last 20 years, we can think, okay, what if we completely redesign that for the 21st century now? And for us, that has a few attributes. Firstly, if you designed it from scratch, the first thing you would do is you go, it shouldn't just be for my legacy files like Excel, PowerPoint, Word. It should also have my cloud docs like Google. And it should also be able to support all of these new places where content is living and being generated, like Trello or Figma or Airtable. All of those things should be able to live in one space. And you should also have ability to search all of your applications from one place. So not just Dropbox, but Slack, or as will be coming soon, Teams. You should be able to search your email, search the web, and messages in one spot. So a kind of a universal search function. Then you're going to want all the people that you work with and those conversations living in that same view, so you're not having to switch between applications. The conversations that are happening, the files that you guys are working on together, things like video conferencing and calendar should be accessible in the same space. And those groups, so for example, the Probax team, Jonathan and Sam and Kevin in the US, that could be one group, but then there could be those external clients or contractors or agencies that you work with. Those groups should be able to be in the same space. And then all the context around those files or that content. And I think Dropbox has the view where some others at the moment see chat as the center of productivity or work engagement. We still see content, the files, as the center. So the markups, the comments, the activity, the versions of those files, all visible in one space. And this we're calling the new Dropbox. And this is something that in 2 days' time is rolling out to all Dropbox customers globally as a new desktop application. It's been in testing for a few months. We've had a lot of feedback from our resellers, and what we've discovered is people now come to Dropbox as the first place that they go to in the morning. It's no longer something that's sitting in the background that's very reliable, very easy to use, but ultimately isn't a place you live. It's kind of a place that you go when you need to go grab that file. So this is the new Dropbox. We're calling it a single workspace to organize your content. But also,
this is
sorry to you here.
Oh, sorry, mate. I was going to say this is quite different from what people have historically viewed Dropbox as, right? Being a cloud storage and file sharing platform.
And I think there's still going to be people out there that see it as that. And if people feel very comfortable with just using Windows Explorer and Dropbox lives there and it's going to be a place where they just, dump a file server, that functionality still exists. And for those people that have treated Dropbox as just a backup solution to your server or whatever's saved in your computer, hey, look, we've still got that functionality and, don't worry, we'll take your money. But really where we see Dropbox in the future and where we're adding value to the customers that are buying it is that kind of hot data that worked like when we created this webinar together, Sam, which is, I chucked my PowerPoint slides in a folder, you chucked yours in, we did 50 different versions of the file, we added comments and all of these edits, and it was that really active back and forth collaboration. And I guess what we're doing with this is we're kind of making a choice as well. So we're saying, well, if this is where the value of Dropbox, if this is where all of our time, attention, and energy is, it means that we're kind of in a way pulling back from some other things that we could be doing. And that is really where we see Probax coming in, because you guys have a expertise and a area of focus where we see as complementary, but we don't really want to be playing in that space ourselves.
Awesome. So thanks, Brock. That was great. So guys, now let's talk about why you need a backup and archive solution for Dropbox. So let's take a look at the 5 main reasons why we see there is a real need for backup and archive for users of Dropbox. The first one is probably the most obvious one. Now, statistics show that 64% of SaaS data loss is due to human error, where registered users accidentally delete or overwrite data. So there's a real need here, even if it's just from a productivity point of view, where someone has deleted or overwritten a whole bunch of team folder data. Being able to recover that data quickly and easily is really important. Of course, there's internal security threats that we need to protect against. They may be malicious insiders or departing employees who might have another agenda. Protecting against external security threats is another obvious one. External security threats being, of course, ransomware and rogue applications. Now, everyone listening to this webinar should already know that ransomware is on the rise. That's fairly evident. Now, this grab from F-Secure's State of Cybersecurity Report from 2017, so it's a couple of years old, but it's one of the best graphics out there that illustrates the exponential growth of ransomware. Ransomware as a service is a common thing now, where hackers have made it incredibly easy for people with little to no skill in coding to use ransomware to target whoever they like, whether it's for financial gain or just having fun by creating havoc. And the creators of ransomware as a service tools, they benefit by taking a percentage of the ransoms paid. So, hey, Brock, one of our partners shared an interesting article on LinkedIn the other day about the creators of the Grand Crab ransomware, if you've heard of that. They announced that they were shutting down their ransomware as a service operation after raking in over $2 billion in ransom payments. Now, the operators themselves claimed that they were making roughly $2.5 million per week from the operation. Now, that's pretty nuts, hey?
Well, that kind of begs the question, if that's not enough money for them, what are they now going to get into? Because
Exactly.
I would keep the business running if I was earning that.
Well, look, it goes without saying that those numbers should be taken with a grain of salt, but even if they were making a tenth of those numbers, that's still very impressive, right?
That's a very impressive business model.
Yeah, we're in the wrong business, mate. So with ransomware as a service becoming more and more popular and easier to access, it's incredibly important that you have a data protection strategy in place that can quickly and easily recover entire team folders or member workspaces and provide effective protection against both internal security threats. So think about one of your own employees or one of your clients' employees utilizing ransomware as a service on their own business for whatever reason. So protecting against that and protecting against external security threats as well. Retention policy gaps and legal and compliance requirements usually go hand in hand, whether that be for internal compliance requirements, which could be a business wanting to have an independent backup of their data and extending retention to enhance their own backup and disaster recovery strategy, or businesses who are working in particular industries such as health and financial services, where they have a legal requirement to securely store and back up business data for X number of years. And all backed up data must, of course, be easily recoverable in the event of a data loss incident. So to summarize, without a backup and archive solution for data sitting in the cloud, your clients will have limited recovery and control of their own data. They'll have retention policy gaps and data loss dangers. They'll be exposed to security vulnerabilities. And of course, there'll be regulatory exposure as well. Have I missed anything there at all, Brock?
No, I think that the key one that I see when I talk to MSPs and they ask, do you have a solution which is kind of a backup or an independent third party backup and restore solution for Dropbox is they're really keen to have control because they've been put in place by the end customer to completely manage their IT environment, and they just don't like being completely reliant on one piece of technology. So I think if anything goes wrong, they like to be able to be fully in control of the tools. You know, so something like Dropbox has, we say we've got 12 nines of uptime, so 99.109% of availability for that solution. But they are there to, you know, if we look at MSPs, they typically say we're there for the worst case scenario, and they like that there is a solution for the worst case scenario.
Awesome. Thanks, mate. So Probax has gone ahead and created Dropbox Backup and Archive, which essentially provides enhanced protection against user error and security threats, both internal and external, enhanced access and control of team folders or member workspaces, independent rapid recoverability, whether that's an entire Dropbox account, team folders, member folders, or individual files, our solution can recover data within seconds. Our solution allows users of Dropbox to meet their legal and compliance requirements. And we offer plans that provide businesses with unlimited retention of their data. So now that we understand the use cases and the business benefits, let's talk about some of the important features. Firstly, it's a cloud-to-cloud data protection solution, meaning that we utilize the Dropbox API to automatically replicate data between the Dropbox cloud and the Probax cloud. So what that does is essentially prevents the need to upload data from the client side. And by removing dependence on the client side, we also remove any dangers with client side issues impacting the data protection schedule and availability. And as one of our clients has described it, it is a set and forget solution. It can be configured in minutes and you only need to come back to it when you need to restore data. And for the remainder of the time, as you'll see in a few slides, the solution will be working away in the background, making you money. The solution, of course, supports both Dropbox Business and Dropbox individual plans. And I'll take you through our month-to-month fixed cost per user pricing structure in just a moment. And we also utilize enterprise class storage in premier tier 4 data center facilities certified for SOC 2, ISO 27001 and PCI DS. So what I'm about to show you now is a sneak peek of the new version of Probax Control, which is pretty exciting. Probax Control is our multi-vendor, multi-tenant platform for managing and monitoring your clients' data protection solutions. We've called the new version of Probax Control ProBacks Hive. So if you're watching this webinar and you're an existing Probax partner, you will notice a very different branding and, of course, a very different look and feel to our dashboard. Probax Hive will be released in the coming weeks. ETA is yet to be confirmed, but it's not too far away. And as part of this, I'll obviously be showing you around our Dropbox backup and archive solution as well, and its user interface. So the first thing I'm going to do is log into my demo account. Now, I have two-factor authentication enabled as well, so I'm going to go ahead and enter my Google Authenticator code. When I log in, the first screen I'm going to see is the main dashboard view, but I want to drill down into my Dropbox end user accounts. So I'll click on Accounts. I'm going to click on Dropbox Demo Account. So there are two Dropbox accounts protected under this end user account, and I'm going to show you the Dropbox business account first. So if I click on Configure Protection, I can see all the users that are being protected. I can also enable and disable protection of member data per user. Now, if I click on Show Settings, you can see that I have a few options. I can switch between protection plans, which I'll talk about a bit later on. I can also see the usage for the entire Dropbox account, as well as the average usage per user. I can also enable auto protection of new member data as new accounts are added. To restore data, it is easy as clicking on View Restore and then selecting the date you want to restore from. So I pick the data and I click on View. From here, I see the folders that are being protected. I just find what I want to restore and I click on the Restore arrow. And you can see that it has restored the data into a separate restore folder, and from there I just move or copy the restored data to where I want it. So protection of Dropbox individual accounts is very similar, but you can see I have a few less options. Clicking on Configure Protection shows the plans available and the current usage. And the process for restoring data is identical to what you saw previously. So it's just a matter of clicking on the date you want, click on View, and you'll see all the folders again. Now, when I logged into Hive, the Dropbox accounts were already added. But if you want to add a new account, all you need to do is click on Storage and then Add New Storage Space. You then browse to Backup and Archive. From there, you just click on the storage location and follow the prompts. You'll need to enter your login credentials and allow Probax Hive to access your Dropbox data. And that's essentially it. So as I mentioned previously, it's very simple to set up and incredibly easy to use.
That is pretty slick, Sam, I got to say.
You know what? I'm so excited to get Probax Hive out. We've been working on it for the last geez, it's been more than 6 months. It's currently in beta testing with a handful of partners, but I just can't wait, mate, to get it out.
Well, I think just from the run through of the UI, look, it's very, very clean. It's pretty simple, even for someone who, I don't think has ever come across it before. So I definitely like the design language you guys have implemented.
Awesome. Thank you. Okay, so let's talk about how MSPs can accelerate their recurring revenue growth by partnering with Dropbox and Probax. Before we can start talking about how to accelerate revenue growth, I'm going to have to take you through our pricing structure. Now, we are running a promotion from now until the end of the year where all new Dropbox backup and archive accounts will have lifetime gold partner pricing. So the pricing I'm going to show you is our gold partner pricing. If you'd like to view all our partner pricing, all you need to do is reach out to our local sales team and they'd be happy to assist you. Now, bear in mind, this is Australian pricing. So if you are a MSP who is tuned in to this webinar in North America, you'll need to contact our sales team to get local pricing. Right now, we're looking at protection plans for Dropbox Business. You have two options. As you saw in the demo, there's starter and unlimited. As you can see, the main differences are the average in storage quota per user and the amount of restore points that are being kept. Now, both plans have the option to back up team folders, and that's been done by default. Or you can back up team folders and member data. And selling at RRP will make you 50% margin on our starter plan and 48% margin on our unlimited plan, which is quite healthy. Moving on to Dropbox individual plans, again, you have two options. You've got the starter plan and the unlimited plan. And again, the main differences is the storage quota per account and the amount of restore points that are being kept. Selling our Dropbox individual plans at RRP will allow you to make 50% margin on both the starter plan and the unlimited plan. Let's take a look at how you can accelerate your recurring revenue growth in your MSP business by selling SaaS protection services. Now, bear in mind that this is on top of the revenue and the margin you make by selling the underlying SaaS service, in this case, Dropbox. So in the example I'm about to show you, I'm going to assume that we have a 50-seat Dropbox business client who wants to protect both team folder data and member data for all users. Now, they're on the starter plans, so at an RRP of $9.50 per user per month, your MSP business is bringing in an additional $5,700 in additional recurring revenue per year. And based on the margin that you receive selling at RRP, you're adding $2,850 in additional recurring margin per year. Now, remember that that's just for one client. So my question to you is, how many Dropbox clients do you have, or how many clients do you think can benefit from the new Dropbox that Brock has showed you today? Even if you were to only sell Dropbox backup and archive to a quarter of your client base, that's still a considerable amount that's added to both your top line and your bottom line each year for very little effort, as you saw in the demo. So in most cases, this is a set and forget data protection solution that just ticks away in the background, earning you relatively easy money. And Brock, a question for you. Where is the revenue opportunity today for MSPs who have Dropbox customers who are currently paying Dropbox directly via credit card? Is there a way that they can bring that revenue into their business?
There is actually, Sam. And so this is quite a good introductory way of getting involved with the Dropbox reseller program, because you might be managing some clients that have had Dropbox for a number of years. They're just paying on credit card. You haven't been earning margin on it, so it hasn't been, I guess, a priority for you. We've got something that we call Team Merge, which is now available, which essentially means that we can move that customer from the Dropbox direct credit card billing that they're currently on across to being billed via yourself through our exclusive distributor, Ingram Micro in ANZ, and also we're with Ingram in all territories around the world if you're overseas. That means that you're getting 20% margin on those licenses. And there's really no other cost involved to you other than we've just had to move the billing over in the background. So if you're looking at, 50-person Dropbox business deployment, if they're using Dropbox Business Advanced, you're earning somewhere in the region of $3,300 gross margin on those licenses, as well as what Sam's run through in terms of the Probax opportunity. So all up, it's pretty healthy, and partners kind of come on board. They move from getting those first few deals over the line, working with our team, understanding the proposition and getting a lot of help from us, and then they move to select and elite tiers. And the guys in the elite tier have got 30, 40, 50 different Dropbox deployments, all of them earning 20% margin plus other kickers as a recurring revenue model. It becomes a nice little business.
Awesome. So hey, in the event that your client has more than 50 gigs per user or requires long retention than the starter plan can offer, or both, I've just done a quick example of the same client, but on the Business Unlimited plan. So at an RRP of $19 per user per month, the MSP business is bringing in an additional $11,400 in additional revenue and $5,400 in additional recurring margin per year. Again, this is per client, and this is on top of the revenue and the margin you can make by selling the underlying Dropbox service. Now, that may sound easy, but you obviously need to sell the service in order to make money, right? So how do you go about effectively selling SaaS protection services like Dropbox Backup and Archive? In some cases, your clients may already know that they need it. For example, they may have internal business requirements or legal and compliance requirements that require them to have an independent copy of their business critical data or extend data retention and availability out to several years. In these cases, it's a relatively easy sell because they know they need it. And most likely they'll just jump on Google, they'll search for the solutions out there, they'll find something like Dropbox Backup and Archive by Probax, and away you go. But how do you effectively position SaaS protection services for your other clients who are generally the ones that don't know that they need it? The two most important steps here are to, one, understand your client's specific situation, and number two, educate your clients on the value of their data and the need for an effective data protection strategy. So here are just some of the discovery questions you should be asking your clients to help you understand their business, but also get them thinking about the value of their data and what would happen to their business if they were to lose access to their business critical data. Once you've had the initial conversation and you have all the information you need on their business, so you understand their business, what's important to them, you can begin filling in any knowledge gaps that your client has. So educating your clients is an incredibly important step. My advice to you is don't sell backup, but instead help them understand the value of their data. So be their trusted advisor, educate them on the need for SaaS protection, help them understand what you've learned today and what you've seen in the webinar, and the sale should come naturally. I will say that SaaS protection in 2019 should no longer be an optional or add-on service. The risks are far too high, as we've demonstrated today, talking about ransomware as a service and all the threats to businesses. So when you're selling Dropbox Business to your clients, ensure that you bundle it with Dropbox Backup and Archive. And really that goes for any SaaS service. You must always think to bundle a SaaS protection service with the sale of the underlying SaaS service. And my final advice to MSPs on this webinar, if you follow these steps and you've helped your clients understand the value of their data and you've explained to them why they need an effective data protection strategy for data that's sitting in the cloud, and they decide that they don't want SaaS protection for whatever reason, have your clients sign a waiver, acknowledge that they've refused SaaS protection. A lot of our partners do this, and it essentially achieves two things. First, it will protect your MSP business. So if your clients don't want protection, make sure you protect yourselves. And number two, it will hopefully make them realize the seriousness of not having SaaS protection. So that really brings us to the end of today's webinar. But before we head into answering the questions you guys have, I just want to share a little bit about Probax for those on the call that are new and don't know too much about us as a business. So we've been operating for 14 years, and today we are a multi-vendor, multi-tenant data protection platform for MSPs in Australia, New Zealand, and North America. We provide a range of data protection solutions, including backup as a service, archive as a service, DR as a service, software as a service protection solutions, and backup software licensing. Today, we currently integrate with Dropbox, Veeam, StorageCraft, and Microsoft Office 365. We also work exclusively with MSPs, so any end user leads we receive are passed back to our MSP partners. We currently have cloud storage and DR infrastructure in Melbourne, Sydney, Perth, and New Jersey. We also leverage public cloud vendors like AWS and Wasabi for our SaaS protection solutions. And one thing we're really quite proud of is our Net Promoter Score. So Net Promoter Score, or NPS, is an index range from -100 to 100 that measures the willingness of customers to recommend your products and services. So we're very proud to be sitting at a score of 53, which is 2.5 times the industry average.
That is a huge number.
It's pretty good.
It's very, very hard to get to a number like that.
Absolutely. Okay, well, let's open it up to questions from the attendees of today's webinar. So the first question I've got today is, what counts as member data when it comes to pricing of Dropbox backup and archive? So anything that's created by team members outside of the organization's team folders would be classified as member data. So you've got the option to back these up on a per member basis. So there is a rate per user if you just want to back up team folders or their member data as well. So that's doable.
And I'd just chiming in on that one, I would strongly encourage the backup of both, because a lot of organizations don't use team folders. So, team folders in Dropbox parlance is those admin managed folders which kind of have the top-down control, and usually a company says, hey, let's put our content in here so that we don't have duplication of data. Something that can happen with Dropbox is, because it's so easy to create content and share it with whoever you want, you'll often get a lot of shared folders as well, which could be shared from one to many or just between a couple of people. There's still a lot of important company data sitting in those folders. So if you are only backing up team folders, you could be missing a lot of business critical information.
Any network limitations or costs syncing data to Probax? As I mentioned before, this is a cloud-to-cloud solution, so there's no additional downloading or uploading of customer data to the Probax cloud. The initial seed or the initial backup of your Dropbox data may take anywhere from several hours to several days, depending on the size of the account and the number of objects in that account. But future daily incremental backups shouldn't take long at all. And like many of our services, there are no other costs to sync or restore data back to your Dropbox account. It's all included in the fixed cost per user per month fee. And I think that's all the questions.
Didn't even get anything spicy.
Nothing spicy at all. That was fairly easy, wasn't it?
It was. That was nothing too challenging, but we would love if anyone does have any more questions about Dropbox Business or Dropbox Business and Probax together. I'd love to hear from you. My email address is on the screen. If people perhaps were thinking, okay, yeah, I've got some customers currently paying for Dropbox on credit card, I would quite like to bring that under my management, like Office 365 and a lot of those other cloud solutions. We're actually running a webinar ourselves next Wednesday on how to do that. It's going to be a pretty short webinar, 15, 20 minutes max, because it's a fairly easy process. But if that interests you, if you think that is a nice little foot in the door to building a Dropbox practice, then please drop me a note and I'll make sure that you get the webinar details.
Awesome. So that brings us to the end of the webinar. For all those attending, thank you very much for taking the time out of your busy schedules to tune into today's webinar. As I said earlier, we'll make these slides and the webinar recording available as soon as possible. Brock, thank you very much. It's been an absolute pleasure having you on the call today.
Thank you, Sam. No, it's very enjoyable and always good to have a chat with you, and looking forward to this relationship building over time.
Awesome. Thanks, Brock. All right, everyone. Thank you all and have a great day.